Welcome back from the break, everyone, to Pivotal Change. We're moving on to a new guest. We had some great information just moments ago, and thank you for checking back in. But now I have the pleasure of introducing Brittany Casarez, a very good friend of mine. And I basically think of her as a leadership tactician. And we're going to jump into some questions here today. She's with Accountability Services, which offers all kinds of advisory and leadership, tax planning, and strategy advice. And she's one of the gurus that gets the job done on the day-to-day. So Brittany, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And per usual, we're always bound by time restraints, but I want us to go ahead and jump right in there. And I want to talk about putting leadership into practice. You know, that can be very difficult. A lot of people have their ideas, their visions, but what they want to do and what they say and execute on are often different things. What are some thoughts you can give to our viewers about how to put leadership into practice? How do you produce leadership?
I think the biggest thing that I really focus on being a successful leader is to understanding how your employees tick. So understanding, are they visual learners? Are they on the job training? Are they feet to the fire individuals? So that's step one to understanding how to be a better leader. From there, you can build off what kind of processes that need to happen around those employees. So, and also certain departments. We have multiple departments in our firm. The operations team, very hands-on, very type A, very generating workflow. Then you have our tax department, very heads down, doing the work as it comes and goes, but not very good at producing the workflow or handling multiple things at once. And then we have, kind of more of the accounting, the advisory department, the individuals who are really client facing, have more of that extroverted personality to be able to handle certain meetings with clients and different cadences. So I think the biggest thing that I can stress to most leaders and that I talk with our partners about is understanding who is on your team, how they work, and then how you're going to implement those processes within that team and that department that's going to make them the most successful.
Wow, I really like that. I like the little really quick statement you said where you got to find out what makes your people tick. And then implementing those little practices per team sounds like it's pretty individualistic, team by team, and not necessarily just broad brushstrokes for everyone. So speaking of broad brushstrokes, that kind of leads me to strategy. We've had conversations about the difference between strategy and tactics and logistics, and you're really kind of bridging the gap between strategy, that vision and what needs to be done, and the actual tactics to execute on the day-to-day. So in that tactical arena, can you just tell us, how do you bridge that gap, and how do you really, being in charge of all that firm productivity, go to the steps, some of the steps you do on the day-to-day operations to make that happen?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is to really make sure you have a team, and that could be a team of one, or it could be a team of two or more than that. I'm lucky enough to where I have a team of four on our operations team, and every individual within that team has a different role. So what leads it to be is I produce the delegation to my team, and the team is able to produce the delegation to the rest of the department. So it doesn't all fall on me, because when it all falls on that one person, you're kind of essentially, sometimes you can be a broken record and you're not taken as seriously as some points because you're just kind of, beating the throttle all the time. So if you have a team that is there to help bridge that gap, I think that's the most beneficial. We have the partners who are the big picture individuals who love to produce the actual strategy in the clouds. And then how are we going to bring it back down? I think the biggest thing that is most beneficial to me is I'm a very type A personality. So being able to have that organization and that workflow really kind of hones in on how we are going to actually produce everything in the most organized system as possible. So essentially building the workflow and making sure that every workflow has some type of output, some type of metric tied to it. Not necessarily holding people's feet to the fire on consequences, but what are the metrics that we want to hit and the why behind the metrics? Because if the individuals and your employees don't understand the why, you're not going to really have them on board with you. So really kind of making sure you bring that whole big picture around with a metric and a why, you're going to have a more successful product in the end by having everyone on the team at least put in 100% effort.
Okay, I like a lot of what you said there, and I'm probably going to expand on maybe one or two of these. So getting the why established, I think, is hugely important. Just humans in general, if they can understand why it's necessary to do something or what impact it's going to have. I think you and I have had this conversation before off camera about how motivating that is. And then even in the more current generations, do you feel like it's the younger the generations, the more important the why is than somebody that might be from the great generation or a baby boomer who's just a little more loyal and just into following orders? Or do you find that everybody really needs that why and how it fits into their piece of the puzzle fits into it?
I think you nailed it. I really do think the younger generation needs to have the more of the why, because they want to know where they are helping produce and the success of things. So they want to know what their part is. They're very down to when you have the older generation, they're here to do a job. And they're really focused on the job at hand. They know that they're producing the success at the end of the company. I think the younger generation, including myself, I want to know, what am I producing to make the company successful? Where is my role? So I think really focusing on, it goes all across the board, honestly, making sure that everybody understands where their position is and what their position ultimately does to make the firm successful. Is going to help the work ethic and the dedication from the team members, and also help produce more of a unity, because everybody's kind of on the same page and they all understand what goal they're going forward, but where their role is in that goal.
I love that. I love that. So all of that just is very fluid, really paints the picture of how important each of those things are. Let me jump back to a comment you made earlier about delegation. You also said that you want to build a team model. I think the audience knows I'm huge into the team model, and that teamwork is always better than individual effort. And that you said you do that for the purpose of not having one person just responsible for everything. And then they're putting their, I think you said, foot on the accelerator or the throttle all of the time. And I think that might help people not drop through the cracks as much if they're not the only person pulling all the responsibility. So with delegation, can you share with us a couple of the processes or maybe some of the hurdles that you face in delegation and how you implement the processes or overcome those hurdles?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for our firm that I also am speaking to multiple other firms on that I have found very successful within an operations team, and it's not just on the accounting side, it's literally kind of all industry. All industries can use this model, is we use shared email inboxes. So we allow our clients to not email or contact, myself, or the partners within the firm. They all go to a shared inbox. And what I have is everybody that I want to understand the communication at that level has access to that shared inbox. And so everybody that needs to provide a response, we all have that communication internally of what needs to be taken in order to answer a client or take an internal action. So shared inboxes has been a massive success within our firm. Another thing that we do is daily huddles, quick daily huddles. What's on the agenda today? What's the metric output that we need today? Is anyone struggling with anything? Any, big ticket items that we need to bring to the attention? So 10, 15 minutes of people's time every morning has been very, very helpful. It also gets kind of the juices flowing first thing in the morning. We do it remote, and then we also do it in office. So we have a hybrid schedule with our team. So I think that's also another thing, is understanding hybrid versus in office, and how you're going to kind of add in those metrics or KPIs essentially in that realm. And it's just mainly bringing in that communication. Video conferencing is very big. We want to make sure that we see everybody's faces, kind of understand the body language that they have when they're speaking. So if you can kind of take a conversation offline based on somebody's body language, it's just an easier conversation. So the biggest thing I can say is any meeting that you have is always have some type of metric or output from the meeting, not just to have a meeting.
Ooh, I love that. That's been a huge topic of death by meeting, I think, is even a famous speech or book. And you really hit a lot of things about those huddles, managing the expectations in those huddles, making them quick, getting the juices flowing. I really like very much of what you said. Is, we've discussed a lot of this before. So what I would like you to do, we're going to have to go to commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk more specifically about communication and how to draw out, specific employees, maybe the people that don't have a voice or are afraid to speak up, and some of your skills in that area. But real quick, before we transition to break, give me just one example of a good KPI you have for one of these huddles or one of these delegated tasks.
Yeah, so we're specifically a tax firm, so we produce tax returns for filing. So for example, today my Huddle, we had a metric of what needed to be done by January 30th. And what does that happen? So by the end of the day, we need to have 5 completed tax returns sent out to the clients. And we narrowed down who those clients need to be and what is needed to get those 5 out the door. So it starts low. Every day we have some type of metric, and then tomorrow it might be 2 because we did a bigger load today on the output side, and two might be tomorrow because we might be calling more clients tomorrow.
Very good. Well, I'm going to jump in right here and get us pushed off to the commercial break. Brittany, stay in that seat. We're going to be coming right back with more specifics about communication. Everyone else, enjoy this commercial break. Maybe grab yourself a drink, grab yourself an advertisement, and we'll be back with Brittany Casarez from Accountability Services right after this.